Hello and a very warm welcome. Thanks for tuning into News 9 Live. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he is going to be in Kerala on a 2-day visit, but security details of his particular visit, the VVIP's visit to Kerala, were leaked and ended up in public domain, intriguingly on a Malayalam media channel. Now, what went wrong is what we're trying to decode here in the first place. Union Minister of State V. Muralidharan, him on Sunday coming out in front of the press and claiming that the details of Prime Minister Modi's security arrangements were leaked to the media just days before his trip to Kerala, and accused the left government in the state of remaining silent on the issue. We're going to try and decode what happens next in this particular case. Joining me in the studio is my colleague Karthikeya Sharma.
Thank you.
And with us on the broadcast is also going to be Yashowardhan Azad, former Special Director, Intelligence Bureau. He's going to be with us. A very warm welcome on the broadcast to you, sir. Karthikeya, let's try and decode. Did we learn anything from the Punjab incident that happened? Prime Minister has been visiting, various states down south, road shows after road shows. The security detail and the lapse that happened in Punjab, have we learned something from there? And how are you reading into the threat letter that came out and the cataloguing of security threats and the implications on that 49-page intelligence report?
I think, I was pretty lucky enough to interview Mr. Azad when the Punjab security breach took place. And in Punjab security breach, he very categorically pointed out that apart from all the fault of the local police, SPG too should have rushed the Prime Minister to a space which is called a safe spot. So he spoke about multiple issues in that context, in terms of SOPs, of the police. Yashowardhan Azad was not only in charge of the VVIP security, but as Secretary Security Cabinet Secretariat, he has a vast experience in managing the security of the top politicians of India, especially those who are protected by SPG and the Prime Minister. And Kabir, if you don't mind, can I take a question from Mr. Azad?
Right, absolutely.
Sir, my question to you is that after Punjab this leak has taken place, how serious this should be considered in context of Prime Minister Modi's itinerary? This is like the second time it has happened in context of information.
Well, I think leak of Prime Minister's security detail is perhaps the worst thing you can even imagine. The problem in this case, Karthikeya, is that you see the entire threat perception has been given in the first part, and then security arrangements which are built around the quantum and the quality of threat perception, they are then given for every event which has been organized for the Prime Minister. And the worst part is that all these arrangements have been made with much care and a lot of caution. And you realize that that everyone is involved in that. The state police is involved, intelligence is involved, the IV is involved, the SPG is involved. And therefore, it's a well-crafted kind of a diagrammatic sketch, the works, everything is there, I mean, there are so many details. Now, if that goes out in a 49-page document, then you can imagine the horror of the security men who are going to protect the Prime Minister. One, it gives you the details. For example, I saw it in the press that, things about PFI, about these women cadres and about these things have come out. So obviously, if there is a trained or a committed man, and he'd like to see through the security and the loopholes. So in the end, I'd just like to say that this is a real breach and a tremendous failure on the part of whoever that the leak has come out.
So it's a 49-page report by Additional Director General of Police, Intelligence, with the details of the names of the officials on duty, their role, detailed program chart of the Prime Minister, and this was all over media. And you would know, sir, that the Union Minister of State, Mr. Muralidharan, when ballistics on Sunday, he said, how come this is on the Malayalam media? Now, it is one thing that there is a procedural error, or there is one thing that there is error in context of logistics, which happened in Punjab, in a border state. But sir, there is another thing to have the entire itinerary of the program with the press, with the name of the officers and the duties assigned. I mean to say it's slightly bit more than a breach. You have handed over everything of the Prime Minister to anyone who doesn't like him.
Well, you know, in this particular case, what happens, Karthikeya, is that whenever security arrangements are drawn up, then the intelligence chief of that particular state draws upon resources from various places. Because, you know, in one district may not have all the, so people are called from various places. And that's why it has to be done in a centralized manner. Well, now that this has been done and this has been circulated, what happens is that things become loose at times because you'll be circulating across a few districts or across a few officers, and inevitably the slip up takes place in such a situation. Whereas the more serious part in this, Karthikeya, is that this gives both. You see, if only the security arrangements given alone and the threat perception is given differently, then even the pressure would be halved. But the threat perception given gives exactly where you're expecting the threats from. And that's the worst part in this, that both have been combined and given. But lastly, Karthikeya, I also feel a little strange because I'm given to understand that some channel sort of published it, and some press people also did it. I mean, I think the responsible press people or the editors would have made sure that such things are not given out by the press. I wonder how they forgot their role in this, because PM security, you know, everyone is involved. He is the Prime Minister of the country and he faces the highest threat. And let me tell you, Karthikeya, that in this particular case, he faces the highest level of threat. And we are talking not, you know, simple threats here and there, law and order, because law and order threat is separate. We are talking about ISIS, we are talking about, you know, all those things which have been mentioned there, PFI, and they have the capability too. So I think on that part, it has been a very, very serious film.
There are two things here, sir. One is you have the itinerary of the Prime Minister, which is made public. But there's another thing in which the people deployed, their names are published. So in this case, sir, what is the protocol? So for example, if you would have been in service, what would you have done immediately? What would have been the first step if you would have come to know that the entire detail, not only of the Prime Minister's trip, but the people involved in securing him, their identities are out? What would you have done, sir?
You see, there are a lot of, you know, checks and balances you can do. I mean, you can change a little bit of timings here and there. You can change routes. You can, I mean, there are so many things, I mean, which the SPG is really capable of. And I'm sure those contingency measures must be taken by both the security police. In fact, I was happy to read a statement by the from the police commissioner side also, that we will make foolproof arrangements. We are trying to rectify the mistake, and inquiry has been ordered. But yes, the mind you, Karthikeya, the arrangements, the close proximity security of the Prime Minister is done by the SPG, and the outer arrangements are taken care of by the state police. So I'm sure SPG has a lot on its hands. And there are regular drills, there are contingency arrangements, and I'm sure they'll make it, and they'll be able to manage it now because they've got a few days. I think the Prime Minister's program is on Tuesday, and this came out about 2 days back.
Well, Mr. Azad, the Prime Minister is also slated to hold a road show today as well. It's going to be interesting and important to see, you know, how that is conducted, and pertinent points being raised there by Mr. Azad as well. But this death threat to the Prime Minister, then the security detail coming out in the public domain, there's a lot of political pressure on Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan as well, because the BJP has come out all guns blazing, criticizing how the 49-page intelligence document ended up in the public domain. Let's quickly take a look at what the BJP leaders had to say. You've got a union minister here, you've got the BJP Kerala unit's president as well, calling out Pinarayi Vijayan out in the open.
SPG is the most efficient protection agency, security agency in the world. So Prime Minister's Kerala visit will end very smoothly and happily. SPG and other security agencies will protect the Prime Minister's life always. So these threats by the various fundamentalist organizations and urban naxals, Kerala people definitely will support, definitely will obey the procedures of the SPG. People will come and greet in a way of huge gathering will be there. But we are very hopeful that the program of Narendra Modi ji will be a great success.
It's surprising that the details of the security arrangements that were proposed to be organized for the Prime Minister got leaked into the media and WhatsApp groups of thousands of people. But the most surprising thing is the silence that is being maintained by the state government. In fact, within 24 hours, the person responsible should have been identified and sacked. But no action is being taken. It shows that the Home Ministry of the government of Kerala, there is no one to take that call.
Well, Mr. Azad, I'm sure you heard V. Muralidharan over there. Within the first 24 hours, he's saying somebody should have been sacked. Should we be expecting somebody to be, be asked to step down from their post soon enough now?
See, let me say at the very outset, definitely it's not deliberate by the government or the police. It's a huge mistake. It's a failure. That's true. But an inquiry has to be instituted. You can't sack anybody just straight away. So given what has happened is a lapse which I'm sure the state government and the police are ruing over. They'll be shocked themselves. So they'll be trying their best to see where the leak has come from, and they'll try to plug the leak and also try to make the security arrangements now double-proof. Yes, but after an inquiry, they should definitely take severe action, but that will take time, and people should be patient about it. So I don't think we can attribute any kind of motive to the government. It's a failure. They must take action, and now they must make foolproof arrangements for the Prime Minister and abide by SPG advice, whatever contingency arrangements the SPG is making, and this is very important.
Sir, this country has witnessed assassination of a sitting Prime Minister. This country has also witnessed assassination of a former Prime Minister. And that happened within a span of 10 years. In one case, the SPG was not there. And in the first case, SPG did not exist when Indira Gandhi was assassinated. So there have been rules which have been put in place for the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister. In this case, in which the whole itinerary went out, names of the officers were put out, does it also bring them into harm's vicinity, because you have leaked the identity of those who are entrusted with the most crucial task of the state, which is protection of your top executive?
Well, normally the officers protecting the Prime Minister are in the open. The media knows about them. But yes, the common folk will not be aware of their names or their, the trained bad assassins or bad hands, what you call them. Would they be trying to find out about each one of them? I don't think so. So what I would say is that the names may be less of a threat. Intelligence officials, yes, they should be kept in the, they should be kept off the stage. But as far as this protection goes, which is in the open and they have to face the heat outside, in that respect, you see, the officers who are going for the advanced security arrangements, they are seen in full public. The press is there, everyone is there. Normally, they don't go to the press. That's good enough. And as far as the state apparatus is concerned, the officers there, it really does not matter. What is the most threatening part about this is the threat perception which has been given, where each threat to the Prime Minister is just listed right in the beginning.
Right.
And that is what makes it dangerous, I would say.
And in those catalogue threats, Mr. Azad, the PFI crackdown that took place last year, it's been mentioned quite clearly about how there are various students groups that have been mobilizing a lot of cadre on the ground as well, a lot of students, possibilities of black flags at Prime Minister Modi's roadshow in Kochi as well. The PFI angle, it is a sensitive issue when it comes to Kerala. Would you like to throw some light on that as well?
You said it. That's exactly the whole point. That the PFI and its activities are very, very well known. And after the ban, when it announced that they are just closing shop, what about the disgruntled cadres? What about the people who are still at large? What are the people NIA has not been able to arrest? And then there is the law and order part. So, both these things, they are analyzed, they are discussed. And according to the quantum of threat, and for that specific place, that is how these security arrangements are drawn out. So if you leak out everything and say that here is a threat coming from, this is the arrangement we are making, and these are the officers, what is left then? There is nothing left. You've given the time, you've given the route, you've given the officers, you've given the threat perception. There's nothing left. This becomes a joke. It will become a caricature of a security.
Well, so if the Prime Minister is now, treading on thin ice, do you think there could be chances that the Prime Minister does not visit Kerala or calls off some of those events? I mean, now that all information is in public domain.
Well, I have seen that, I have seen that in most of the cases, the Prime Ministers, which are very, very brave, I mean, they just go through the programs. And if a Prime Minister or a VIP says that, yes, he has to go because he has told the public, then the security has to make the arrangements. And that's why I think it's very challenging, but I'm sure that the SPG with the state government will be able to do it. But this kind of failure, I pray that this is not repeated anywhere in the country, forget Kerala.
Mr. Azad, you have worn many hats. But this is the second time the breach has taken place in an opposition-ruled state. I'm not trying to read much into it, but first was Punjab, where the elections were due, and the second one has taken place in Kerala, where the acrimony is on the plate between Bharatiya Janata Party. Is it also because of the fact that a political acrimony is such that, a section takes a cavalier attitude towards Prime Minister's security? I had to ask this question to you because, one would have been an exception, two doesn't make it, sir.
Well, Karthikeya, I would say it's a very sensitive issue. In the case of Punjab, I think it was a botcher, and I would also say in both the cases, I will not as a professional say that any intent or motive was there. What has actually happened is, yes, that protest which was happening in Punjab should have been taken care of by the collector and the SP. The collector is the head of the law and order, the SP is the operational man, and both of them have enough clout, enough prestige in the area to say that you better call it off, otherwise we'll disperse it. And it could have been done. And then Prime Minister route would have been clear. But now that the Prime Minister route was blocked, it was the job of the SPG to say, Mr. Prime Minister, we can't allow you on the border, just like this in a car without any supports. We have to take you back immediately to some safe house or something. So I would say that was real a botch up by the Punjab government.
You're saying that was, sir, you were saying that was something happening on the ground. Certain on-ground decisions were not taking place at that point of time, which SPG or senior officer could have taken place. This is more in terms of planning which has been leaked.
Ahead of his visit.
Ahead of his visit. So both are of different nature.
Different nature.
But in Punjab, the Prime Minister was exposed. But in this, you have given away the complete grid.
In Kerala, you have let out everything right in the beginning. So again, I would say that this is a kind of a super flop failure. What I can say. What else is left in this particular case? And now to mend it would certainly be that it should be talked at the highest level, how they can go about it. The Kerala police is confident. The SPG, I'm sure, will be going through their own planning and contingencies. And it'll be something which will be of great interest to watch. And the Prime Minister, I know, knowing him, he's very, very, brave in these respects. As I've seen other Prime Ministers, they've been as brave. They don't change programs. So he will certainly go ahead with it. So best of luck to all of them, but I'm sure they'll be able to manage.
Well, so it seems like the Prime Minister is likely to go ahead with his particular visit. On the other hand, for Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan, he's got another front now to tackle. He's already has the governor to tackle, the Congress in the state, the BJP in the state, and now this particular allegation of how the administration did not carry it out, with the kind of pristine that it should have.
Whether Bharatiya Janata Party gets vote or not, it's a different thing, but it's definitely going to dominate the narrative. Anything which has to do with the security of the Prime Minister is something which hits a deep emotional chord with the people of this country. BJP didn't get to sweep elections in Punjab. Aam Aadmi Party swept elections in Punjab. But it creates a narrative. It creates a very, very powerful narrative that the Prime Minister's security has been breached, because in this country we know that one Prime Minister was assassinated in office, Indira Gandhi. The second Prime Minister was assassinated by LTTE. The first Prime Minister was assassinated post Operation Blue Star, and subsequently we all know the sort of terror which Punjab underwent in 80s. I think it was the great job done by a number of IPS officers there in Punjab, which brought it back from the brink of disaster. But to this to happen repeatedly, I think obviously a lot of things are not being said on camera. I'm sure a lot of things cannot be said in front of the camera, but I'm sure that the Prime Minister Office and Security is very much seized of the fact that the entire grid has been called out, and that too in a state which is undergoing transformation. You have growing threat from PFI. PFI has ideological links with organizations which are very, very extremist in nature. So, for the Prime Minister of this country, the grid to go out, and that grid which is being made by the additional DGP at the highest level, and that too being 49-page report being out, is something a matter of grave concern. Shouldn't have been published. I completely agree with Mr. Azad. The media organizations there should not have allowed it to go on air. It's not a simple itinerary. See, I have to tell this to our viewers. If Prime Minister's itineraries are released, we every day get an itinerary of the Prime Minister for his live speeches. Every day we get an itinerary of the Prime Minister in context of elections. But we don't get an itinerary of the Prime Minister in which the names of the security officers
or his movements.
And let me tell you, the itinerary of the Prime Minister and the movement of the Prime Ministers are two different things. Those timings are they are fudged by 10 minutes here and there. Suppose you are told that the Prime Minister will come at 11:45, he may come at 11:55, he may come at 11:35. So there is a margin of error of plus and minus 10 minutes, which is always kept for the media, because obviously it's in public domain. I have covered the Prime Minister's office for more than 15 years. Unless and until that event is being organized inside Lok Kalyan Marg, inside sort of a fixed venue which is well protected, it's on time, but outside those margin of error is kept. The routes are not given out, the people deployed, their names are not given out. So it's not like that, even when we used to travel with Prime Minister, there was a tradition that the Prime Minister would carry their masal cheese. So the address was not given. So there would be a name, a masalchi, and a temporary mobile number, not even a permanent mobile number. That used to be given to the journalist, a book for anyone traveling with the Prime Minister. So I think it's a great breach of security, one. Second, to have happened again is very, very surprising. And the first was, as Mr. Azad very rightly pointed out, a botch-up thing in which decisions were not being taken. The Indian Prime Minister was exposed in a border district. And the second thing is, Prime Minister has not gone his entire 49-page itinerary is out. So I think this is shoddiness more than anything. I must say the head should roll for this, because you're not dealing with security lapse of a person. You're dealing with the security lapse of an elected Prime Minister of the Republic of India, who withholds the trust of more than 1 billion people. And I think it's someone or people should be made accountable for these botch-up things, whether they are top-notch IAS, IPS officers, whether in the case of Punjab or Haryana or in case of Kerala. The heads must roll after a thorough and a detailed investigation. So I think more than the politics of it to have happened, Kabir, this for the second time is a cause of great concern. I think whether it's intelligence, how did it go out, to whom did it go, how many people have seen it, in which servers was it kept, was a hard copy given, was it made on an email, can such an email be given? You know, the hazard questions around it, and those hazard questions need to be answered.
Well, absolutely. So the forensics of this case need to be analyzed, and of course it is a serious situation. I mean, there's no point suggesting the kind of pressures Pinarayi Vijayan is going to be facing at this point in time, and it's going to be interesting to see how the centre takes action on this issue, and how the state government also takes action. Even as a state, a special branch is already probing the threat letter angle in this particular case, which also came about after this 49-paged intelligence document did come out. So all those facets, we'll have to wait and watch as to how these administrations will finally play their cards. Now, on that note, Karthikeyan, many thanks for joining us. And Mr. Azad, always a pleasure speaking to you on these serious issues when it comes to national security as well. Many thanks for joining us. Well, that's all the time we have for you in this episode. News content will continue on News 9 Plus. Don't go anywhere.